Your heart is already building the thing that will kill you, not someday, right now, quietly, inside the walls of your arteries, where no scan, no blood test, and no doctor's appointment has looked closely enough to catch it yet. And here's what makes this truly unsettling. You feel completely fine. You exercise. You eat reasonably well. You don't smoke. Your last checkup came back normal. And you've been quietly using that as proof that your heart is safe. But that feeling of safety? That's not protection. That's the mechanism. That is exactly how this works. Think of an artery like a highway. For years, maybe decades, traffic flows freely. But beneath the surface, inside the walls of that highway, a slow, invisible construction project is happening. Tiny deposits of fat and immune cells are quietly packing themselves into the arterial wall like hidden cargo. No pain, no symptoms, no warning lights. The medical term for this is atherosclerosis. And here's the part that changes everything. It doesn't kill you by gradually closing the road. It kills you by suddenly detonating. One day, without warning, the thin cap covering that buried plaque cracks open. Your immune system reads this as an emergency. It floods the area. A blood clot forms in seconds. The artery is blocked. And a heart attack begins. Not because you ignored your health, but because a process that started silently years ago finally reached a breaking point your body never warned you about. But that's only the surface of what's happening. Because the real question isn't just what ruptures that plaque, it's what you've been doing every single day that you believe is completely harmless, that's been quietly accelerating this process for years. Here's where the story takes a strange turn. For the last 70 years, medicine told you one story about heart attacks. Bad cholesterol builds up, clogs arteries, heart attack. Reduce your LDL cholesterol, the logic went, and you reduce your risk. Clean, simple, wrong. Or at least dangerously incomplete, because in 2025, a landmark study involving nearly 40,000 patients published in a peer-reviewed journal found something that should have changed every conversation you've ever had with your doctor. Inflammation, not cholesterol, was the stronger predictor of heart attack and death. Specifically, researchers measured a biomarker called C-reactive protein, or CRP, a molecule your liver produces whenever your immune system is silently activated. And what they found was striking. Patients with elevated CRP faced a 47% higher risk of cardiovascular death than patients with high cholesterol alone. High cholesterol by itself? Only a modest increase in heart attack risk, not even statistically significant for overall mortality. And now the part that should make you pause. 52% of Americans currently have elevated C-reactive protein levels in their blood, more than half the population. Right now, walking around, feeling fine. So, where is this silent inflammation coming from? Not from a virus, not from an obvious injury, from habits, from biology, from the way your evolutionary nervous system is interacting with the modern world it was never designed to live in. And this is where everything changes. Your body was built for short, sharp threats. A predator, a fall, a fight. In response to danger, your stress hormone system fires cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream. Your heart rate surges, your arteries constrict. Blood clotting factors increase so you don't bleed out if you're wounded. This system saved your ancestors' lives. But here's the cruel irony of modern biology. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a lion and a deadline, between physical danger and a cruel email at 11 p.m., between a predator and 3 hours of unresolved anxiety before sleep. Every time you experience chronic low-grade stress, the kind that never fully resolves, your body quietly drips cortisol into your bloodstream. And a 2020 study published in the journal Scientific Reports found something deeply unsettling. Elevated cortisol stored in hair samples, on a measure of chronic stress accumulated over months, was directly associated with acute myocardial infarction. The heart attacks came later. The cortisol came first. Your stress isn't just emotional. It is biological. It is vascular. It is, quite literally, reshaping the walls of your arteries while you think you're just having a hard week. But here's what researchers noticed next. And this is the part nobody talks about in health articles. In September 2025, Mayo Clinic published one of the most comprehensive studies ever conducted on heart attacks in people under 65, analyzing over 15 years of data from 1,474 heart attack cases. What they expected to find: clogged arteries, plaque, the classic story. What they actually found: 32% of all heart attacks had nothing to do with clogged arteries at all. Zero, no blockage, no classic plaque buildup. Instead, these hearts failed because of mechanisms that most doctors aren't even trained to look for: arterial dissections, where the inner wall of a coronary artery simply tears, immune-triggered clots, stress-induced spasms that choke blood flow without leaving a trace, conditions so rare, so misunderstood, that they were frequently misdiagnosed as anxiety in the emergency room. And in women under 65, the number was even more shocking. More than half of all heart attacks were caused by these non-traditional factors: women who were told they were fine, women with normal cholesterol, women who exercised, didn't smoke, and had no family history, women who sat in emergency rooms describing crushing chest pressure, and were handed a sedative and sent home. This is the part that should feel slightly uncomfortable, because the checklist you've been given, watch your cholesterol, don't smoke, exercise, was built on data predominantly gathered from middle-aged men with classic plaque disease. It was never designed for you. Let's talk about what you were told to worry about and what you should actually be paying attention to. Cholesterol. For decades, it's been the villain of cardiovascular medicine, the number your doctor circles in red, the reason millions of people take statins every morning before breakfast. And cholesterol does matter. But here's the part the standard blood panel never shows you. Two people can have the exact same LDL cholesterol level and carry completely different levels of cardiovascular risk. Why? Because it's not the amount of cholesterol floating in your blood that matters most. It's how it's packaged. Research now shows that what predicts a heart attack far more accurately is the number of cholesterol particles, specifically a protein called apolipoprotein B. Small, dense cholesterol particles behave more like razor blades than smooth spheres inside your arteries. They penetrate the arterial wall more easily, embed more deeply, and trigger a more violent immune response. And none of that is captured by a standard cholesterol test. Meanwhile, a protein called lipoprotein A, rarely measured, genetically inherited, makes cholesterol particles sticky. It makes plaque adhesive. It dramatically accelerates the accumulation process. And an estimated 1 in 5 people carries elevated levels of it without ever knowing, because it is almost never included in a routine blood panel. So here's the uncomfortable realization. The test you've been given to assess your heart risk was designed in the 1950s. And it is missing the most important variables. You're not getting the full picture. You never were. But it gets stranger. Think about last night. How many hours did you sleep? A 2022 study published in the Korean Journal of Physiology and Pharmacology found that people who sleep fewer than 6 hours per night face a significantly increased risk of coronary heart disease compared to those sleeping 6 to 9 hours. But the mechanism isn't just tiredness. Sleep is the only window during which your body performs deep vascular repair. While you sleep, your immune system clears cellular debris from arterial walls. Blood pressure drops, cortisol levels fall, inflammatory markers decrease. When you cut that window short, night after night, your arteries don't fully recover from the previous day's damage. And research from Neuroscience News revealed something that should make you rethink your current sleep habits immediately. Just 3 nights of insufficient sleep are enough to activate inflammatory proteins in the blood directly linked to cardiovascular disease. 3 nights, not 3 months. 3 nights. And most people reading this have been running a sleep debt for years. Now combine that with this: chronic low-grade stress keeping cortisol elevated, a diet high in refined sugar triggering inflammatory responses in arterial walls, hidden cholesterol particles that standard tests don't measure, a genetic marker for sticky plaque that nobody checked. And the picture that emerges isn't a dramatic story about someone who ignored obvious warning signs. It's a quiet, slow, relentlessly building process, happening in people who go to the gym, get their annual checkup, and genuinely believe they are taking care of themselves. The most dangerous heart attack is the one you're not worried about. And the most dangerous habit is the one that doesn't feel like a habit at all. The late night scrolling, the meetings that don't end, the coffee you use to replace sleep, the tension you carry in your shoulders that you stopped noticing years ago because it's been there so long it just feels like you. Your body has been filing a report on all of it. You just haven't been given access to the data. Here's the truth that everything in this video has been building toward. The heart attacks that kill healthy people aren't accidents. They aren't bad luck. They aren't random biological failures. They are the accumulated output of a body that receives signals: stress, inflammation, sleep disruption, undetected genetic risk, invisible arterial damage, and responded exactly the way it was designed to respond. The problem isn't that your body failed. The problem is that you were given an incomplete map of how your body works, and then told that as long as your cholesterol was under control and you exercised occasionally, you were safe. You weren't unsafe because you were reckless. You were unsafe because the story you were told was too simple. Real cardiovascular risk lives in the things medicine hasn't made routine: CRP levels, apolipoprotein, B, lipoprotein, A, cortisol patterns, sleep architecture, and the slow, invisible inflammation that modern life creates without ever announcing itself. The good news is this: inflammation responds to diet, sleep repairs arterial walls, stress, when understood biologically, not just emotionally, can be interrupted before it becomes vascular damage. The mechanisms that build this risk are the same mechanisms that can reverse it, but only if you know they exist. And that's the question worth sitting with tonight. Not whether your heart is healthy right now, but whether the body you're living in has been quietly building something for years while you were completely confident that you were one of the healthy ones. What does your internal report actually say?